Alison, it's been a long 2 years, but hopefully we're entering a post-pandemic world of some sort. What are the plans that Tourism Ireland have for the key North American market?
Well, first of all, great to be back with you, Owen. It certainly has been a long 2 years, but we're obviously a lot more optimistic right now. So the good news is in the US, we're about to launch phase 2 of our Green Button campaign, which I think a lot of your viewers will be familiar with. It goes live in the US on February the 21st. It's our largest ever campaign, and it'll run in key gateways and across our priority markets. It's a campaign that will run across multiple channels, and it'll include always on digital and social right the way throughout 2022. And we're also going to be have ads running online and video sites and on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as sites like TripAdvisor and USA Today. So that digital campaign, I said it's going to be one of our biggest. Will deliver about 600 million impressions throughout the year.
Great.
And then added to that, the campaign is going to feature 3 bursts of TV, and that's both linear TV and also digital television. So our Green Button ads will then be seen on TV networks such as ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS. Again, in our priority markets, we are investing in those markets where we see the best potential for return and where we know we have direct air access.
Those markets, Alison, they tend to be in and around where there's gateways to Ireland.
Absolutely, we'll be in New York, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, and then we'll ladder in San Francisco and Los Angeles and other markets where we have very good air access coming on stream. And we'll also be doing is those ads, the 15 and 30-second ads, will also be running on the major streaming services that you would expect to see, such as Hulu and Sling TV, Discovery Plus, and that will give us another 180 million impressions. So I suppose what we're trying to do here is really just send out a really clear message to our culturally curious travelers that Ireland is open, and it's time to start planning that visit. I mean, it's all about driving conversion and driving business bookings and revenues to partners around the island of Ireland. Owen, as you know, there's lots of pent-up demand, but it's also a very competitive marketplace. So we want to make sure that Ireland secures its share of that US outbound market.
And I suppose one of the benefits, if we can call it that, of COVID was that tourism's marketing budget was increased, because I think the government realized that we had to go out in a big, bold manner once COVID was behind us or partially behind us anyway. And as a result, you in North America have got an increased budget. I mean, you can do things this year that you could only have dreamed of in pre-COVID times.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen a more than 50% increase in our budget, which allows us to have that year-round presence. It allows us to really scale up our activities.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to be really important for us as we launch this campaign in a couple of weeks' time is that really bringing our partners along with us, our trade partners in the marketplace, because it is about strengthening that intent and driving conversion. So we will be doing, we'll start with the sort of the brand push. We'll be layering on a lot of tactical activities and putting packages and offers in front of consumers, using a lot of the tried and tested tactics that we've used before, like Travel Zoo, Dunhills and Sherman's, but really saying to people, look, here's a great package, now is the time to book. And we know from research that they're looking and booking all the time, and now the search to book window is only between 5 or 6 days. So people are constantly booking. So we don't want to make sure we capture them at the right stage of that consumer journey. Yeah.
And you mentioned research there, and traditionally research has been very positive towards Ireland from the American consumer. There's the diaspora, but generally there's a very positive dispensation towards Ireland. Is that still the case, or have things changed? Is the American consumer a little bit more cautious now? I know they still, if they come to Ireland, they would still have to test before they're allowed back into the States. It's not as seamless as it was, but the general mood amongst the American consumer is still fairly strong towards Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've obviously been keeping our finger on the pulse with a lot of research, and we recently undertook a sort of a brand health study. I suppose really just to sort of see what impact the pandemic has had in terms of their perceptions of Ireland as we move into that sort of living with COVID and recovery era. So I suppose it'd be fair to say the big takeout is that we know that the pandemic has obviously affected people's travel plans and some of their travel intentions and the type of experiences and behaviours. But the good news is that they're still generally very positively disposed towards Ireland. They still have a warm feeling about considering Ireland as a vacation destination. I think what's important, though, and has come through in the research is that like so many travelers, Americans are looking for those truly immersive and authentic experiences. And it's really important that we make sure that we communicate in a very impactful way just how unique those experiences are and the depth and breadth of those experiences in Ireland. So really sort of how do we differentiate Ireland from our competitors? We certainly can't be complacent because it's going to be more competitive than ever because everyone is getting out of the gate this time around. So we have a great product offering. We know that, but we just need to make sure that we communicate that in a compelling way with great inspirational content to those partners. So I would be, pretty optimistic. I mean, certainly the feedback from industry and the research is indicating, yes, Ireland is certainly on the consideration set, but we just need to make sure that we're hitting them hard with why Ireland as opposed to anywhere else.
Yeah, and Aer Lingus, and they've very ambitiously gone back to the transatlantic market, and they've got, I can't recall, but I think they've got 80-90% of their pre-pandemic capacity already programmed. So that's key, isn't it? Because as an island nation, from the States, it's all about direct air access. So that, if we can fill those seats through clever marketing or clever kind of product initiatives, then, tourism will benefit.
Absolutely. I mean, from obviously the growth that we drove through to 2019, so much of that growth was driven by an increase in direct air capacity. But I think the air position from a US perspective is very positive. I think it's much more positive than we thought maybe a few months ago. And the overall route map for the US, you'll see we've got direct services restored from 13 gateways to Dublin, and we'll also have Shannon serve from JFK and Boston as well. So it's a very positive picture. Overall, if you take all of the carriers into consideration, it's about 87% of 2019 air seat capacity will be restored. So that's really, really positive. And we then will continue to work with the airlines, and we are working with them right now with Aer Lingus and others to make sure that as many of those seats get filled. And the feedback is that the spring and summer are looking pretty good in terms of forward bookings.
Great, yeah, and kind of let's hope they all materialize. And Alison, St. Patrick's Day is less than a month away. We're going to have a real life festival and parade. It's traditionally the kickoff for the tourism season. Any particular plans in the States, or how can we maximize, I suppose, the event stateside?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to believe that it's rolling around again, but we'll have some major publicity drive. We'll have 3 television crews in Ireland over St. Patrick's Day. So unlike last year where everything was virtual, we're bringing those TV crews to Ireland, and they will be on the parade route. They'll also be in different parts of the country, not just in Dublin. We will be maximising all the opportunities in market, obviously from a publicity and a social media perspective. And we, of course, will be playing a major role in the Global Greenings campaign, and will be part of Tourism Ireland's planned very special St. Patrick's Day digital campaign. More to come on that. So we will be taking every opportunity to say this is the time to press that green button and book that trip to Ireland.
Alison, talk to us for a moment about the US economy. We hear about inflationary pressures. We know unemployment is at low levels, but the economy, the stock market, it's all important, isn't it, in terms of the consumer confidence to travel?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think, obviously it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last couple of years, but I think generally speaking, I think the assessment would be the US economy is pretty strong. I think most of the economic fundamentals that support driving consumer confidence and support discretionary spend and travel are in pretty positive territory. As you said, there's concerns around sort of inflation, and I suspect there will be some rebalancing out there. Some people obviously were very conscious that a lot of folks were affected by the pandemic, particularly in hospitality and tourism, but there's also a lot of people that were not. And when we look at our target audience, there are many people that have more disposable income to spend on travel and other discretionary items than they had pre-pandemic. And just looking at some of the personal savings rates, they're the highest level with some segments of the community.
Yeah, great. And we talked before about the budget increase and the ability for Tourism Ireland to do things you haven't necessarily done before. And I can understand the always on and the sort of the 12-month long digital campaigns and stuff, but are there any specific standout initiatives that maybe are taking place this year that haven't happened before? Yeah,
we've taken that opportunity, as you say, to really look at how can we sort of bring Ireland to a much bigger audience. And through our new sort of brand partnership strategy, we've identified some consumer brands that allow us to take that Ireland message to consumers in different environments. So a couple of projects I'd just like to highlight. First is the new IMAX movie. This is the giant screen documentary film called Ireland, which is narrated by Liam Neeson. This rolls out this month. And that's a project that Tourism Ireland has invested in as a presenting sponsor. And that is going to give us a great opportunity right across North America and ultimately globally to bring great inspirational content about showcasing the very best of Ireland's history, heritage, and scenery. But it has amazing panoramic kind of shots of the Cliffs of Moher and Giant's Causeway and Skellig Islands. Another initiative here in the US is our sponsorship of the Riverdance Tour, the 25th anniversary tour.
Great.
Again, they're going to be playing in multiple cities right across the US, and we using this as an opportunity to put a spotlight on Ireland through publicity and social media and content marketing programs around that. And probably the final one I'd like to just probably talk about is what we're calling our moment strategy. So again, we're just looking at particular moments in the year and the calendar where we feel we can, again, create more standout for Ireland and to get people thinking about booking travel. So we've identified 4. First is Valentine's Day, then we have obviously St. Patrick's Day, Halloween and Thanksgiving. So again, working on pulling together really multi-channel campaigns, producing content and toolkits for trade, media and consumers, just to make it easy and say, why not travel to Ireland for Valentine's? Or when you're getting together with your family at Thanksgiving, planning a vacation, why not Ireland?
Yeah, great. And I feel very old now that you say 25 years ago was the first time we saw that on Eurovision. In terms of the trade is important, isn't it? Across the Atlantic, the travel agents are a strong stakeholder in the States, and obviously we have all the DMCs and tour operators here in Ireland who provide the on the ground services. Any particular B2B initiatives this year that may be of interest?
I think we certainly, it is, and I think the trade has become even more important in the US, just given the result of the pandemic, people putting their trust in professional travel advisors. So a couple of key initiatives. We have two big sales missions. We're getting back into delivering in-person events. So we'll have an East Coast sales mission in April that'll take in Boston, New York, Chicago, and DC, and then a West Coast sales mission where we are expanding our activity and our footprint in Western US. So there are a couple of big initiatives. We'll also see us rolling out more initiatives to develop more business in the luxury, the group, and the golf business as well. Those are niches, and those are not really niches. Those are segments of the market where Ireland really is well positioned to win more business. So again, some new initiatives in that regard, both led by Tourism Ireland and ourselves working in partnership with some of our luxury retail consortia. Yeah,
great. And of course, this year is the first year of the deferred 5-year college football series. So that's exciting. I think the first game is Nebraska, but I think next year is Notre Dame again, isn't it? So, there's momentum there, and it does put a spotlight on Ireland and Dublin, and it penetrates a kind of an aspect of the US market we wouldn't get otherwise.
Absolutely. I think, the return of the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, a 5-game series, and hopefully it might be more than that. Just an opportunity, I think, in terms of to continue to position Dublin as the European home of US college football. Yeah. So we're really excited. It's less than 200 days until Northwestern and Nebraska arrive in Dublin, and we're working very closely with the events team organizers there to make sure that we encourage as many fans, friends, alumni to visit. And I think the opportunity it gives us is the game is, one day or a weekend, and it's bringing a uniquely US sporting event to Dublin. In terms of it's the game, but it's also all the tailgating and all of the other hoopla and buzz that goes on around it. But a lot of the folks considering traveling to these games, and particularly possibly from Nebraska, may not have had Ireland on their radar screen until this point.
Exactly.
The game is but 1 or 2 days, but we find that most people, will want to plan a trip for 5 or 7 or 9 days. So we're really working to get that destination message out across as much as what the game will be like. Yeah. So very excited about that. And of course, next year, Notre Dame Navy, 2 great brands. And we're, again, very excited to welcome what we hope will be a huge number of US travelers. So it's a real kickoff for us. Ireland is open, and we can't wait to welcome you back.
Yeah, no, it's great to have such a positive discussion after 2 very difficult years. So listen, Alison, thank you so much, and best of luck to you and the team, and keep up the good work and keep sending all those North American visitors, both US and Canadians, over to us in their droves, please.
Thanks very much, Owen. We'll do our best.